All right, welcome back, fellow TFFL owners, to another TFFL webcast. It is Wednesday this week, Wednesday, November 8th. We are wrapping up week 9, looking ahead to week 10 action now. 4 weeks to go in our 2017 regular season. Real quick shout out to our owners in Virginia and New Jersey for coming through yesterday on Election Day. Nice work, everybody.
Legal weed in Jersey. Birdo, get ready.
And lots to talk about this week. We got a packed agenda. A few quick notes. Giant Killers sneaking another win. We'll be talking more about them later. How many points was it? 40, 42? 44?
41. 41.
Oh, good Lord. 6-3 now, though, Berto.
Yes.
Boba Fett's scoring big, winning again after being spotlighted here on the webcast last week. AMPAC coming back down to earth. No more 80-point or 120-point outings, at least not in week 9. So our introductions quickly. I'm Stick, managing editor of TFFL Media, leader of the Aliens, and joined as always. We have no guest tonight, but our commissioner, skipper of the tied for first place Sponge Fisherman.
Good evening. Hope to be with you for the duration tonight.
You're coming through just fine now, Chief. Berto, Jack's Giant Killers, 6-3. We'll talk more about you, but 1 win away, 2 wins away from the magic number you need.
Sure. Hey, Stick.
Good evening. And Hank, czar and CEO of the K-Wheels, and our technical director as always.
Good to be here with everyone. Good to see you, Stick. Birdo, always a pleasure. Chief, of course.
All right, let's kick things off, as always, with TFFL trivia. There are 2 franchises. I'm going to give away the number this time intentionally. 2 franchises have never won 10 games in any regular season. Name them. Name the 2 franchises.
I'm sorry, that broke up on me. Can you repeat that?
2 franchises have failed to ever win 10 games in a TFFL regular season. Name those 2 franchises. There's a possibility this is a recycled question from 4 years ago. It sounds a little familiar to me, but I have fact-checked it. It is up to date. All right, so 9 weeks down, we've seen some mushing up of the standings, I believe, Hank?
We certainly have. We're starting to see some clarity coming to life. I'll flash up the graphic, and we'll start at the top through week 9. So we've got our division leaders now. They're starting to come into fair. We have the evil AMPAC at the top of the NOCO East, and the surging Boba Fett's, as Stick mentioned, they're at the top of the NOCO West. So West is a mess. You got the Hams, the Janitors, and the Sponge. Pick one. They're all at 4 and 5. And the So East, you got the Slippery Rock Beavers sitting there at 5 and 4. I think they maybe can actually clinch their division this week with a win and losses by the Mongols and Devils. I'm pretty sure that's right.
Yep.
Sounds right.
So then that would leave us with the wild card teams of the aforementioned lucky as hell Giant Killers. And then we have the Aliens would be our second wild card team at 6-3. And so there's your cut line. Our defending champion Lizards, right? They would be out. 2 of those division ties are going to fall out, as are the stumbling K-Wheels, Mongols, and Dirt Devils. So there are your standings after 9 weeks in the TFFL. The Lizards still have a chance, but they're going to have to get hot. I think the So really is not going to get one of the wild cards. So.
No, I think you're looking at the right now, at least, the Lizards, the Aliens, and the Giant Killers. 2 of those 3 teams will make the playoffs. One of them is going to miss out. And I'm down a tiebreaker to Berto. He beat me in week 1, so I'm suddenly in a precarious position.
Win your games.
Yep.
Long way to go.
Yeah. Aliens still play the Lizards. Well, we'll see. So let's jump into our roundtable and talk about that SoCo West mess. All three teams now tied at 4 and 5. I think the preseason favorite, no doubt, was the Hormel Hams. They came out and won the first 4 games of the season, and now they are reeling. They have lost 5 straight. Among my many questions here, take a look at the Hams. Is there a cure for all that is ailing them? I don't think David Johnson is coming back this year. I don't think he's the cure. This team looks really shaky to me all of a sudden, but you tell me. How about the Senators and the Sponge? They haven't won the division since 2013. The Hams have been winning the last 3 years. Are we going to have a division winner with a losing record? And give me your pick. Who is the division winner here?
Go ahead, Berto.
I'll go. I'm going to go with the Sponge. I think the Hams, Breeze has a tough schedule. CJ Anderson hasn't scored since week 2. I think the Rogers injury has ruined Nelson. Tevin Coleman not doing a lot, although Devontae Freeman's a little banged up. Maybe he gets some more work. I think the Sens, I think the Ajayi trade, that hurts some value for Blunt. Mixon is he's not getting in the end zone. He's looking better and better, but he's not getting in the end zone. And I think the Watson injury, really impacts DeAndre Hopkins. And then I look at the Sponge. I think his running backs have maybe played a little bit better than I think Chief even anticipated. Particularly Ingram, and maybe Crowell, I guess, hasn't, but Ingram certainly has, and McCoy has. But I think if Chief can somehow get by this week, even with Rivers playing against a tough Jacksonville defense, I think if they can get by this week and Amari Cooper starts playing up to his potential, I think the Sponge can make a run, and they're my pick.
Well, I'll just echo largely what Berto said. The Hams have really dropped off, and they need to figure something out. And CJ Anderson, as you mentioned, has not been there. And I think the Sponges are coming together at the right time. And I think you're right. This week might be tough with some bye weeks. But as you look at the head-to-heads that these guys are going to have, the Senators' gamble for Hopkins and Hilton is proving to not be working this year. Maybe it will next year into the future, but Indianapolis is bad, and Watson's injury really hurts Hopkins. So that's tough for the Senators. And I think I just look at the Sponge and think that team is not one that I want to play. And when I played them, I lost. So I agree with all that.
I would just remind you guys and our viewers that the Senators just dropped 95 points on me.
They did.
Sure. T.Y. Hilton was a big game. Hopkins had a good game.
Lots changed since then. Lots changed.
New week.
They're 4 and 5, just like everybody else in that division, coming off 95 points. I think you're underrating the Senators a little bit at this point.
That's not possible.
So, yeah, I don't know about the Sponge coming together at the right time. We've just been blown out 2 weeks in a row. For what it's worth, more windows here for fear of crashing the whole damn thing. But does the SoCo have 4 wins against NoCo the last 3 weeks? And I have 2 of them, so I feel good about that. Hams still have Antonio Brown. So if you go with the adage that the best players are going to win, and if you think Drew Brees is coming back and Antonio Brown's still there, again, I can't do a quick comparison because it keeps on crashing the browser. I wouldn't count the Hams just yet. We'll see if they have another move in them. I have a feeling the Senators will be aggressive. I really don't have much left to trade to be any more aggressive. I think starting 4 quarterbacks, I think, this year so far. So I think it's anyone's division. I do think someone's going to get to 7 wins. I think we'll have a 7-win division. So there's 5 games left.
4
games left.
Sure.
Someone's going to have to win 3 out of 4.
And the problem you've got, Chief, is you guys obviously are playing each other twice in that 4-game stretch. Your other two games are against my division, which are going to be 2 tough games there.
Right. Sure.
I'll say one thing though. Here's what I like about the Sponge for this week against the Liz. The Hams and the Sens both have fairly tough matchups. The Sponge are going against the Liz without Kareem Hunt and without a suspended
Mike Evans.
And potentially Michael Thomas is a little banged up too. So that's good news for the Sponge. I think if they get by this week, they're in good shape.
We missed a joke back there about cured ham that I want to make sure that we come back to. There was something about cure and the cure for the hams, and I was chuckling about cured ham.
I don't have it right in front of me, by the way, but I think Drew Brees has maybe his high score on the year is 20 points. Maybe he hasn't even hit 20. Consistently scoring, I think, in that 15 to 19 range, but not putting up any of the the 30-point games that carry teams to victory. And again, without David Johnson, with C.J. Anderson falling off, there's just not Jordy Nelson falling off. There's just not enough guys to step up there. All right, next topic here. I had an owner come to me this week with an interesting theory, probably more of a fear. Let's talk about the Giant Killers briefly. Again, they are 6-3, 44 points per game, I believe, is their scoring average. They keep winning with scores like, what would you just say, 41 points in week 9. I kind of liken them to Donald Trump in a way. We just keep shrugging them off and saying, these wins don't count. And so the theory here is that Berto is going to go on and win it all. We're shrugging him off, taking him for granted, and he's going to sneak into the playoffs, and then we're going to have guys like Matt Ryan suddenly go off. Thomas Rawls suddenly start getting a ton of carries in Seattle. Alfred Morris becoming the guy in Dallas when Zeke Elliott gets suspended. Corey Davis, who's been injured all year, exploding as a rookie. All as we start the TFFL playoffs. Berto goes on to win it all.
I love this storyline.
So you're in the playoff. I mean, not yet, but with 6 wins and you look at your schedule, I think we can say you're going to certainly get to 7, probably 8. You're in the playoffs. How far can this team really go?
No chance.
I'm the guy who is here as the Killers, Giants. I want to start calling the Giants just because that'll tweak Berto as an Eagles fan. So the Giants, they're lucky as can be this year, and I can just see exactly what you described of these pieces kind of coming together and Berto getting the horseshoe to continue and just ride the season all the way. And I know we're not doing playoff previews and picks and whatnot tonight, but as we sit here entering week 10, the Killers are the favorite. They're going to win it all.
I love it. Now, listen, I was looking at the essential document, and I didn't realize I didn't have a second-round pick next year, which was disappointing. I kind of forgot about that with the Matt Ryan trade last year. So similar to what Chief said before, I do not have a lot of assets to trade. I could go balls to the wall and do something and give up some big time picks, but I'd really be, leaving the cupboard bare. That still may happen, but I don't think I can make a serious run without making a big time trade. It is true that Corey Davis is healthy, but again, this guy hasn't done anything in the NFL yet. all the things you mentioned, Rawls and Alex Collins, whatever. So, if these guys stay healthy, I have to think that I've hit my low water mark in terms of scores. I think my scores are going to go up these next 4 games. But I could easily lose 3 of these games. 3 out of 4. I don't think I'll lose 4 out of 4, but I could lose 3 out of 4 for sure, and find myself not in the playoffs. And if I did make that big move, then that would really screw me going forward. But not to say that I won't consider it the right move, but it's certainly, with not having a number 2, a number 4, and a number 6 pick next year. I'm already missing all my even round picks, which is a problem.
I mean, I think the key is the top of the lineup. We've seen this before. You need a strong quarterback producing a lot of points generally to win a title. The Giant Killers have been an exception to that at times, but with a much stronger set of running backs and receivers. I don't see Matt Ryan catching fire and scoring points like he did last year, but that's what you got to hope for.
He does play Tampa Bay twice, which is good. He's got a pretty, when you talk about schedules, his schedule is actually pretty easy compared to like a Drew Brees, which is actually pretty tough. So, that's one thing about Ryan that I'm looking forward to over the coming games here. He's got to play better.
All right, Chief has left us, and my short-term memory is escaping me. Did Chief weigh in on this already?
He did.
He did not. So maybe we'll have to come back and let him weigh in on this. But
he said no chance, no chance.
All right, thank you. That's right.
Chief, got anything else to say, Roberto, about the Killers? Sorry, the Giants and their chances?
No, he's going to put up a 41 number in the playoffs and lose.
Good. I hope you're right.
There's no need to overanalyze this. He's a low-scoring team who's at a historic scheduling luck, and I see where he's coming from. He knows. At one point it's house money. Yeah, maybe I'll throw my 2019 second-round pick and get a starting wide receiver type. But then why? You're still not going to win, or you're still not going to be favored to win. And you're delaying, or you're crimping your necessary rebuild. You need those draft picks next couple of years.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're tempted to say, hey, you're in the playoffs. You can win everything. But I think at some point, you got to look at what's out there. Look at what your team's been putting up on the scoreboard, and saying, can I really expect to be getting 25 more points I've been scoring all season long? Some secret sauce, some magic beans. I don't know.
What?
With that being said, I'm getting a beer. I'll be right back.
Here's the extra wrinkle here is Berto, I think if you were to make the playoffs, it's likely as the number 5 seed, as the first wild card.
Yep.
Because Ralph's going to win your division. You'd be then presumably playing in the first round the number 4 seed, maybe a team with a losing record from the SoCo West.
Yeah.
A very winnable game, even for a team that might still remain low scoring like yourself. You could very easily be in the semifinals without necessarily having to score a ton of points.
Yeah.
And then it's one game. Then it's one game against Ralph to go to the Pac Bowl.
Yes, I like being in the playoffs. I want to win playoff games. So we'll see. I'm leaving the. If I can, I keep saying it every week. Just give me 60. If I can see some points on the board this week, we still got a couple weeks to trade. I don't need to make a trade today or tomorrow or next week even. So if Corey Davis starts scoring and Thomas Rawls, Eddie Lacy is out and Thomas Rawls looks better than he had, things need to fall into place, and then I will make a deal and I'll go for it. But it doesn't need to be today.
I scored 60 this week and lost.
Stick scored, 63 or something like that.
Yep.
Happens. All right, let's. I got a fun next segment for us. You all remember Alcoa's fantastic finishes as a kid watching NFL games. The other segment you used to get watching games was You Make the Call. Nick probably loved that growing up. I think we all probably did. I don't know why they don't have these anymore, frankly.
Was Nick wearing his junior umpire outfit
As a kid?
or ref outfit?
Yeah, he definitely was the kid.
He wasn't wearing a jersey. He was wearing a ref.
Yeah, he wore it out.
So credit to Chief for reminding me it was IBM that sponsored You Make the Call. So we're going to try to get Rich and Adam to get some sponsorship money for the webcast here, because we're going to do our own You Make the Call segments.
I think they should pitch this as a viral YouTube ad spend, and we can be the test case for You Make the Call, sponsored by IBM. Let's go. Rich, Adam.
Get on it.
I still want to have next year's draft in the Falcons Stadium, which has been all rigged by IBM.
Make that happen.
We've talked about it.
We need to start putting some IBM logos behind us.
Sure. A luxury box in Atlanta? Sure, that sounds good.
Let's do it.
All right, so this is TFFL, You Make the Call, special quarterback edition. I've got several interesting quarterback scenarios starting to take shape. Let's start. You're the Slippery Beavers. You're the Slippery Beavers. We've talked about them. They're well positioned. They're going to take the division title with ease. Given the state of the SoCo West, the Beavers will probably take the conference with ease. They get a bye in week 14. And then, bam, Aaron Rodgers is eligible to come off of IR in the NFL in week 15. So great. Beavers get week 14 off. Week 15 comes, Aaron Rodgers is finally able to play. You make the call. Does Aaron Rodgers immediately go into the Beavers lineup, or do they stick with somebody like Jared Goff, who I remind you just scored 30 points in a big 69-60 week 9 win for the Beavers? Does Rodgers go right back in?
Aaron Rodgers will not be going right back in. And I'll tell you why. Because Aaron Rodgers will not be coming back from this injury. Because the Packers will be about 4-8 by the time he comes back, well behind, the Lions and the Vikings. And there's no need to rush your franchise back at that point. Let's see what Hundley has. See if you have to improve him. They're not winning without Rodgers. They're not making the playoffs by the time he gets back here. So as far as that near-term question for the Beavers, it's not going to be a choice he has to make.
I agree with that. I think the choice actually will be between Goff and Mariota. So Mariota is going to face San Francisco's 29th ranked against QBs right now. Goff going against Seattle. I think that might be more of the decision he has to make. I agree, Rodgers. There's no need for him to come back. I don't think he will come back.
Well, I'll echo that. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers will come back or not. God, I hope he does or does not, and that the Packers mail it in. But let's pretend he does. I mean, he might be the kind of guy with the ego or the desire to just come back and play a game or two and get some confidence going into the offseason. But I still say, regardless, we're not going to make the call that the Beavers would start him over Goff or Mariota in that situation.
Let me just add a little wrinkle on this. I've had conversations with Bill lately, and just so I know what he's thinking, I tried to acquire Goff at the beginning of last week to cover my bye week before I end up with Jacoby Brissett, which is a little bit of a downgrade. Although Brissett performed for me last week.
He had a good game, though.
Yeah, he did. And Bill said he's going to stream just what you said, Berto. Goff and Mariota, depending on who's got the easier, matchup, and he's going to ride that platoon to the end of the year.
Yep.
Or until Rodgers gets back. Should he, get back?
So the fall off between Seattle and San Francisco that week is pretty dramatic. So.
And I think really that this question is going to be an off-season question for Bill. I don't know if you want to go into that, but
Let's save that.
Well, I can segue neatly into that. But first, I have a fascinating development to share.
Okay.
Oh,
We have a live audience right now.
We do.
What?
I am getting texts from a fellow owner who is watching us live right now. I didn't even realize that was possible.
I didn't think it's possible either.
And it just so happens it's Bill. Who we're talking about.
Hey, Gordy.
How are you, Bill?
Gordy, how you doing, bud?
Nice.
So let me segue then into another Beavers-related quarterback issue. And you can frame this one of two ways, as you guys just did. You know, what does Bill do in the offseason? But let me say, here's the scenario: you're in the shoes of an owner who needs a quarterback, and suddenly we might have a couple teams. I'm looking at the Mongols with Jameis Winston, maybe the Hams looking to move on from Drew Brees. Let's say you're a team in need of a quarterback. You see that the Beavers have Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff, maybe even Marcus Mariota interests you. Maybe I'm overrating Goff's upside right now. Who do you go after? Do you go after Rodgers, knowing that Bill might be willing to trade him? Or in a keeper league, do you want to target Jared Goff, maybe at a lower price?
So, I mean, I don't think I would ever go after Aaron Rodgers at this point because the health issue and the price. You know, Bill is not gonna. He's gonna even injured. Would ask for top dollar down the road. You know, assuming news is good and he's getting healthy and all that. You know, he's not gonna let him go for cheap. You could still get. I guess what I'm saying is you can still get Goff for cheaper than you would Rodgers. So I wouldn't go after Rodgers. I wouldn't pay for him. So if I needed a quarterback, I'd go after Goff.
I would float a trade off there for Rodgers to see if Bill says no or hell no, and how fast he says it. It's a rare opportunity one gets to acquire the best QB in the league. Maybe gamble on a complete recovery. He's got the weapons. He has plenty of years left. Bill has done this before. And Aaron Rodgers is better than Donovan McNabb ever has. Remember, he had McNabb for years, and he had Rodgers, who was on the up. And he traded McNabb. Rodgers was not as good as Goff is now when that trade was made.
Good point.
But you got rid of the older McNabb. You got a pretty fair price for it. I think it was a second-round pick. And he went with Rodgers for his keeper. So maybe he's replaying that. I don't know, but it's worth a text.
But Chief, I'm surprised you of all people would be willing to make that move for Rodgers.
The irony there, yeah.
You know,
Yes.
yeah, the irony.
Gamble on an injured quarterback.
No, I'm playing right. I'm playing.
You wouldn't be a little gun shy on that.
I am not in the market, but if I'm
If you were.
Mongols, or if I'm is there any other team that needs a quarterback? Hamsby aggressively. I'm not there yet. I think I might come up later in this.
All right. Well, Chief is already answering my next QB issue I'll throw out there. I know we've talked about it.
Great segues, by the way.
It's working out great. And I know we've talked about Andrew Luck. I don't want to belabor it too much, but the news keeps getting worse week by week, impossibly. I mean, it just, we thought it was bad enough 3 months ago. Now, apparently there's talk of all of this being in his head, whispers that he's never going to be the same quarterback again. Chief is saying he's not in the market for a quarterback, but, he's gotten nothing out of him this year. Didn't pay off last year. 2018, the Colts are saying, oh, sure, he's going to be ready. They said that this year. I don't know how you believe them saying he's going to be fine next year. This injury is a big mystery. Nobody knows what he's going to be like physically or even mentally, apparently. Is it, should the Sponge just chalk this up as a loss and move on at this point? Somebody other than Chief?
I'm not afraid to to admit a mistake and flush a bad investment. But I didn't spend 3 picks on the guy and a keeper to get to just get rid of him while he's on his nadir. As far as this head thing, that's Jim Irsay talking, or Bob Irsay, whichever one. I think it's Jim. Which who knows how many drinks he had in him and how many pills he had in him when he said it. I don't believe it's a mental problem at all right now. He physically cannot throw a ball with velocity. He's gone to several orthopedic surgeons in the last month. I don't think you do that if it's I think it does speak to possible friction between Luck and the front office, or ownership anyway. If they think he's gold bricking, or if he thinks they're not supporting him the way they should. But by the time next offseason rolls around, we'll see what he's doing. We'll see if he's participating in OTAs and preseason training camp. By that time, it'll be 16 months since surgery. I think I have to imagine whatever it is, 16 months, of rest and not throwing. If it's not better then yeah, it's something serious, and he might not play again.
Take him out to pasture.
Something. Thank God he signed that big contract. But no, I plan on keeping him next year. I'm not in the market for a quarterback.
I don't think you should be. I think you got to wait and hope that this is just all, whether it's in his head or not, that when you come week 1 next season, he's your starting quarterback. But yeah, I mean, if you get to week 3 of the preseason next year and there's the keeper deadline is approaching and he's not playing, I mean, I don't know. Can you afford to keep him again if you do not have, confidence that he's going to play? I don't know. It's tough. This is an odd situation with him.
Yeah. All right. Let's shift to our last segment in the roundtable, and it's really not so much a roundtable. We'll all enjoy it, but Berto is going to take this one over. It's our annual stretch run trade preview. This has actually been a impactful segment in years past that has led to actual trades involving the players Berto's talking about. Berto, give us
watching. That's why we have a viewer. Thornburg wants to scoop on the trade.
Exactly. Nice work, Thornburg.
Way to go.
I really can't believe we can do that.
Good First job, word, hot off the presses. So give us 5 trades to look for, Berto.
All right. So we're gonna start. With the SoCo East, which seems like a logical base camp to start unraveling this, with the 1-8 Dirt Devils and the 2-7 Mongols. So we're going to start off with the Devils sending Frank Gore to the Boba Fats for a 2018 second-round pick. As we know, Gore's 34 years old. The Devils need to get younger. They realize that Frank Gore should never have been added to the team in the trade that they made in the offseason anyway. So now's the time you got to unload him. The Fats realize that Frank Gore is not the player necessarily to get them over the top, but it's good depth for a certainly a team that's got a good shot at a Pac Bowl this year. Sticking with the Dirt Devils send Marshawn Lynch to the AMPAC for a number 1 in 2019. The AMPAC have said repeatedly that they're not going to make a trade for trade's sake, but after the Ezekiel Elliott debacle, and he finally gets suspended and doesn't play, which I don't think is going to actually happen now, but let's pretend that does. The AMPAC realize that they need to fill that hole in. The AMPAC get a number 12 in 2018 and a number 5 in 2019 back as well. The Devils, so again, it's Pac Bowl or bust for the AMPAC. The other bit, I talked about the Zeke suspension. Okay. The AMPAC also have Jalen Richard, who is Lynch's backup right now, so they secure that backfield for a relatively cheap price, which could be a number 12 pick in 2019. Okay. The K Wheels send Devontae, again, not a huge deal here, but maybe a little one for the Hams in terms of backup. K Wheels send Devontae Booker to the Hormel Hams for a 4th round pick and get a 12th in return, 2018. Wheels are realizing with the Watson pickup and Fuller being a keeper next year that they have more than 7 keepers, surprisingly, for the K-Wheels, which is good news. And they look to unload some players now, getting a little bit more value versus what you're going to get in the offseason. And again, the Hams, C.J. Anderson hasn't looked like a number 1 running back. Frankly, he hasn't looked like a number 2 running back either. And Devontae Booker could be knocking on the door there in Denver. So they shore that up. Okay. Then we'll go to the next one. So the Lizards lose to the Sponge in Week 10, as we talked about earlier, with Kareem Hunt and Mike Evans, with Kareem Hunt on bye and Mike Evans suspended, and potentially Mike Thomas out. They then play the Sens in Week 11, and Tom Brady has the game of his year, fully eliminating the Liz. The Liz send Adrian Peterson and a 12th round pick to the Killers for a 2019 3rd round pick. So Killers, again, just trying to get somebody that they can plug in for the balance of this year. So anyway, there we go. Sponge make another move by grabbing Marvin Jones from the Wheels. Again, the Wheels still looking at 8 keepers. And they figure they can unload 1 more player. They look to move Marvin Jones to the Sponge for a 2018 3rd round pick. And then our final trade, we got a little creative here. We got a 3-way trade. All right. So Derek Carr to the Hams. The Hams fall out of the playoff race due to the New Orleans tough schedule impacting Breeze. Michael wants to get a jump on a quarterback this year rather than waiting until the offseason, so they elect to go after Derek Carr. The Sponge are surging at this point, and they figure as they get a little bit closer, Breeze has passed a couple of his tough games. The Sponge go out and get Drew Brees from the Hams to see if he can have a little magic and bring a pack bowl home to the Sponge. The Sponge send the Wheels a 2nd round pick in 2019 and the Hams a 5th round pick in 2018. So how that deal shakes out is the Hams get Derek Carr, the Wheels get a number 2 in 2019 and a 5th in 2018, and the Sponge get Drew Brees. That's it.
That's outstanding. I think they got I ended up with like 4 or 5 draft picks inside the first 4 rounds. So
you also end up with like all of the Sponge's future draft picks.
I do. I will be drafting for the Sponge for the foreseeable future.
You already have, you have their 4th next year for Rivers.
Yep.
I'd also like to put a disclaimer. There was not a lot of looking at the essential document to see who had what picks. So that is a bit of a disclaimer.
Yeah, my 3rd round pick was traded already to somebody. Actually, the Aliens.
Well, those are some good ones.
Yeah, but I don't have it anymore.
I like the alien, or not the lizard, the Adrian Peterson acquisition. I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
That's one that definitely could work. The quarterback carousel will also be interesting with these injuries in terms of who is going to get a quarterback, and is Drew Brees the guy that moves? Derek Carr, he can move.
Yep.
I don't see the Lizards giving up a running back at this point, as long as they have playoff hopes. Certainly not to a team that they're competing with for a wild card spot.
Right, but the precursor was that they lose in Week 10 to the Sponge and Week 11 to the Sens.
All right, fair enough. All right, Berto, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think that might actually spark something. Chief, real quick, forgive me, I ask this all the time. The trade deadline is?
The day before Thanksgiving, no?
November 22nd. All right, so 2 weeks away. Not a lot of time. All right, Chief, give us our TFFL schedule. Let's start looking ahead to Week 10 here. Again, 4 weeks left. They're all big games at this point, getting bigger every week. Give us a schedule and the game of the week for us to talk about.
All right. Going from the biggest point spread to the least, we have the AMPAC and the Mongols. AMPAC is 28-point favorites as things stand right now. Beavers minus 14 against the Giant Killers. We have a Sponge minus 18 of the Lizards, but the Lizards have 3 guys with buys in the lineup right now.
Come on,
Aliens minus 7 of the Hams, and Devils minus 6 of the K-Wheels. That's actually going to be the game of the week. The one I forgot was the Boba Fett's and Senators. Boba Fett's are minus 1 right now. So I thought, as I sometimes do, if there's not, if I get bored of talking about the good games or it's not an obvious sink or swim game, is a game that could decide who gets the first pick in the next draft. And I think the Wheels and the Devils are that game.
We could be.
Not expecting a barn burner here. I think the Guru has it as 45-39 Devils.
Yep.
And I think this is, this is the Tom Savage hour, huh?
I got Carr on a bye.
Yeah.
I traded Rivers, so I picked up Tom Savage as the Watson replacement. And man, he looked worse than possible last week. So
when I clicked on your lineup and I saw Tom Savage, I did a double take.
what am I supposed to? I mean, I guess I'm going to see about the free agent market, but the reality is I need another kicker too because Vinatieri has a bye next week, and my other kicker Bailey is on IR. So maybe one of those trades that came discussion. I'm going to need a kicker back or a quarterback better than Tom Savage. Fred, is it Fred Savage?
Macho Man, Randy Savage.
Randy, I would love if it was Randy Savage. I bet Randy Savage could outscore Tom Savage. Sorry. Second, did anybody watch Ric Flair last night?
I was just going to ask that.
Dude, it was great. Yeah, it was great. Ralph definitely watched it. He did.
I didn't watch it, but I am going to at some point because
I'm sure ESPN will run it 100 times. It's good, and those guys were messed up, but it's good.
Yeah, that was so funny. I was gonna ask that too, but the last one I watched was the Mike and the Mad Dog one, and growing up in New York, it's you're listening to Mike and the Mad Dog, so that was a good one. But anyway, I'm gonna check that out.
That was pretty good.
What were you talking about?
I don't remember. How did we get here?
So I don't have any stats to back this up, but Hank, I haven't had the heart to tell you face-to-face at lunch, but Tom Savage over I sort of hinted at this today. Blake Bortles, I think, has been on the free agent market. I don't have the numbers to say that Bortles is any better, but yeah, Tom Savage is pretty bad.
Oh, terrible. I mean, but the thinking at least was Watson was out, Savage was in. The Texans had looked like a pretty good offense that could move, and if Savage was at least average, get me 15 points, fine. Maybe he's better than expected, and he's just been waiting for that opportunity. I might be picking up Bortles this week. Who knows?
Brock Osweiler?
No.
I'll trade you Andy Dalton.
I wouldn't give you anything for him, though. You're not going to get any value.
I know.
Berto, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think for the second straight week, I got to give you credit. I in particular, I think gave you a lot of credit last week for starting.
Yes, thank you.
Starting Dalton over Ryan in week 8, and that was the difference. You flipped it this week.
Yes.
With great success.
Yep.
I think 16 points out of Ryan and 2 out of Dalton on the bench.
Something like that. Yep.
And again, that was a difference in the game right there. So that
that was a 1 week platoon. It's Ryan or bust now. So he's got Dallas, he's got Tampa Bay. I mean, if he can't put up points against these teams, then
Nonetheless, that was another decision you made, and yes, your team is not scoring, but you have been, with 2 good decisions in a row, responsible for 2 wins.
Thank you.
We have a trade, live webcast trade.
What?
Live webcast trade. Our viewer on the webcast, our one live viewer on the webcast, Bill Thornburg, will be trading the K-Wheels Phil Dawson, kicker.
We just talked about this 15 seconds ago.
And we will be swapping 11th and 13th round picks in the upcoming draft. I will send paperwork, but that's a live trade here. You're seeing history made.
Well, it's funny. Every kicker trade, I traded for a kicker this week as well, and it was an 11th and 13th. That's the going rate. Is 11th and 13th.
So this is a great advertisement for the TFFL. I mean, Bill has been texting me all show long.
Yeah.
I'm dumbfounded how someone can log in and watch this right now.
Loving the live, he says. Vic from Pittsburgh says, good luck to all TFFLers. He's making trades based on information he just heard. I mean, literally, we were just talking about Phil's kicker need, 30 seconds ago.
I no longer have kicker needs.
You have to tune in live to the TFFL webcast now.
Now, this is the definition of engagement.
Yes, exactly. When we talk about owners being engaged, Thornburg is our poster boy.
All right, let me give you a TFFL trivia answer. We'll start wrapping up here for the week. I'm looking for the 2 TFFL franchises that have never, ever won 10 games in a regular season. Mongols and Sponge for Hank. Mongols and Sponge for Berto.
Same here.
And you all 3 are correct. Well done.
Points.
2 points all around.
Excellent work, guys.
All right, good work.
Sorry, Chief.
Yeah, sorry, Chief. I felt bad about writing down the Sponge, but I was pretty confident in that. With reason.
I resisted it for a while. It was the first one that came to my head, and let me cool my jets on that and maybe do some wishful thinking here. Mongols was pretty obvious, and then I was trying to think when won the conference, and I think it was a 9-4 team. So yeah.
Well, also the other thing too is Sponge haven't been around as long either.
True.
That's fine.
I did double check, and the Fever never won 10 games.
There you go.
Perhaps not surprisingly.
No, that is not a surprising fact.
All right, Chief. Any commissioner rants and reminders for us this week?
I do not. If anyone else has a rant, please unleash it.
Well, Phil, do you have a rant?
Other than being mad that you keep winning with less than 50 points, I got nothing. That's
All right, then. Good. Well, let's wrap up. I think we're going to come in just under an hour. Again, the big developments. Who knew? Apparently, Bill of all people knew that you can watch us live, and there's great value in doing so. We have proven already. So
the real time questions. That's awesome. That's fantastic. We got to keep that up.
Yeah, real live viewer questions. It's fantastic.
I want to see if there's some way to get questions and comments pouring into our interface here as opposed to on our phones.
Well, after we get the IBM sponsorship, we should get a lot more press, and we should have a lot more live things, and probably some cool tech toys from IBM to engage the audience.
Adam, Berkman, I want to hear from you guys. Send us some stickers. We'll start putting them on Hank's closet back there in the background.
Absolutely, this whole thing can be IBM.
Your ad
right here.
All right. Good luck, everybody, in week 10. Perfect timing. How about that?
Here comes the call. Stick, make a deal, would you?
All right. Good luck in week 10, everybody. We'll see you back here next week to talk about week 11. Take care.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.